Hi there. Well, I'm an artist, so I'm not going to sell you anything because I basically waste money. I make things that are just there for beauty and joy. So I'm also not going to talk about immersive technology in terms of how to enhance your business because it's a $200 billion business and it's pumping away. And I think we're going a little bit in the wrong direction because I think that if we come back to basics, all of this stuff, everything in this room is like a hologram. And I'm not used to public speaking, so I'm beginning to freeze a little bit. There's a lump of matter in your brain receiving external stimuli, and we all agree that this is reality. But it's not really reality. There are gaps, big gaps. Oh, is it working? So I don't know if you know about the story of Captain Cook. He parked up his boat coming into Australia, and he was wondering if the natives were going to be restless or if he could conquer this territory. And they didn't even look at him. They didn't even register him. And he was very disturbed, and he stayed there for a while. And it took days. And after a while, they got on land, and they made friends. And they found out that the shaman was the only person who could sort of see the ship, because the rest of the people didn't have the conceptual framework for the reality of an object that was just in the world. You'd think that you'd just be able to see that, but you don't. You need to have some understanding, and you need a brain. So the universe is a hologram, and you need a brain and some information to tune it and create the reality. But that's still, we can't, because if I take drugs, you take drugs, you know, you're going to create a reality that's totally coherent. It's just that everyone else doesn't agree with you. So what is going on? Why do we need information? Well, because we need to make sense of what that reality is that I'm in at the moment. If I don't know what a gun is, I'm never going to dodge that bullet. So 2 billion years ago, out of the primordial soup, some little cells popped into reality, or existence, shall we say. And they could do something really clever that hadn't been done before, which is that they could receive external stimuli, convert it into a membrane bipolarization. So you had a difference inside and outside, which sounds like nothing, but it's literally everything. It's the subjective-objective experience. And in that, there is a gap where life moves forward. But it still doesn't fill the picture because the little cell can feel itself and it can feel an outside, but it can't create anything without something still missing. And this guy came along and ruined everyone's lives by saying, for every axiom that you have to use something outside that axiom to disprove it or to prove it. You can't prove or disprove the existence of God unless you've got the devil. And obviously the devil's not part of God. So reality is no exception. It's also incomplete. So what is the extra thing? Voila, this is what we have. And we're all afraid of AI, like you were talking about. Well, AI is scary because AI lacks imagination in one way. AI is pumped full of information that somebody decides is relevant. And so if I say to an AI system, what's tomorrow going to be like? AI is completely crippled by the limitations of the human who put that data in, of the type of yesterdays that he knows. We humans have got this tiny little extra gap. We're very slow, sure, but we make this jump in this gap, because AI will go through a logical series of steps, reach a conclusion and stop, and creativity stops there. But we're stubborn, or we're idealistic, or we're mad, and we keep going, so we'll create and create and create. That's what we do. That's what this brain does, this holographic brain that we have. And that gap is exactly the gap that technology exploits, digital technology exploits, immersive technology exploits. It depends on it, because we all know about simulation. When you're imagining things, you could imagine, well, there's a tiger outside my room, and I'm having a nightmare, or I'm really scared about my mortgage, or my body believes it's true. and it's pumped full of chemicals, and it's suffering. Going to computer games, a friend of mine left a PlayStation with me for 3 weeks, and my life stopped. And this is years ago, by the way, the graphics were rubbish, but it had a snowboarding game on there, and I was passionate about it. And I got obsessed with it. I wouldn't even answer my door on a Tuesday afternoon. Ding, ding, no, I need to get to the next level. So I got that whole addiction thing. Now, that was amazing. I got rid of the machine, obviously, because I needed to have my life. And about 6 or 7 months later, I went snowboarding. I could pull moves that I couldn't pull before. And I saw it in action, what simulation does. Why? Because the hologram is the realest thing that we have. And the way we imagine ourselves into the shape of life, the life that we're going to live, that's what we do. And it's indistinguishable from the body's point of view and from the brain's learning point of view. So that's why you put people into situations like this, and they can actually do open heart surgery. They can even do it remotely. So the technology's been around for a while. Now, I had a video, but I was too late to get it into this system. But this technology here is like on another level. So LiDAR, geographic information system analysis, put that together. It's a way of collecting data in many, many different layers, putting it all together, and you can create a digital twin of anything that you have on this planet. So what it's mainly used for, obviously, because we're obsessed with money, is going underground, finding where the gold is, going into an area to find out what the biomass relationships are, what the precipitation is. And it's usually used for industry. But if we flip it around, stop the objective always being, what can we get, what can we get? This tech thing that we're chasing, oh, you've got to keep up with it because, well, we're never going to keep up with it. We lost the game anyway. We just don't have that. So stop and consider all of this technology in another way as your private tool for the fun of your life. Because we got born, we won, we're here. And life could be hard, or it could be a fabulous journey where you take all these tools, stop freaking out about the mortgage, and use them to enhance life. So you just change the objective to survival and switch it to enhance life. It's kind of the same thing, because if you don't take that view with this technology, you're going to be gobbled up. I mean, you're never going to keep up with it, and you're never going to be able to exploit it. It will exploit you if you've got the wrong objectives. It's dangerous stuff. I mean, you create realities with deep fake video. We've all seen this. Nobody can tell the difference. No human can really tell the difference. You can capture a voice off Facebook and get 2 or 3 different points. Use that voice model to call your mum and say, I've got your daughter and I'm going to kidnap her. And that happens. It's terrifying. So if we switch it around, put the objective as life enhancement, forget your business, just think about your relationships and think about the world that you want, because we all know that intention is the thing that creates reality and the kind of reality that you want to have. So take all this amazing technology, put it all together, and you can create metaverses. You can do a Mark Zuckerberg metaverse, or you could make a metaverse where everyone else wants to be, because it's so damn cool. It's so fun. You can interact with it and learn and engage with meaning. Instead of trying this crazy race to keep up and to sell your ass or someone else's ass. So if we all did this, we'd have so much more fun. So I'm working on a project in a rundown inner city urban area in London. Used to be crack hell. It's actually quite cool now. It's Hackney, but it's still got these rundown areas where we're going to be doing these activation points in the streets in these pretty messed up areas, because there's something very special that happens. I don't know if you know, if you walk down the road and you see a bit of graffiti and it somehow speaks to you, like, I don't know, I had an experience one night. I lived in Hackney. It was scary, and I had to get some milk. I went out across the road to the petrol station where you can buy milk in England, and there were 2 guys fighting on the floor. And I was like, oh, God, do I need the milk? Do I survive? Do I go home? I don't know. And it's just like, I was so depressed. And I turned around. And I was just like, breathe, calm. And there was this huge neon sign that said, everything's going to be all right. And I was like, thank you, God. I mean, yeah, I didn't even know that I believed, but there I was. I was just like totally reassured. My mind was calmed down immediately, and I couldn't make sense of it. And I was like, I haven't seen that thing before. It's neon. It's real. There's an old church there. Maybe the priest left that thing, an old like reggae guy, because there were a lot of Rastafarians in the area, and I thought maybe they had that church or something. And he left the sign on, or couldn't make sense of it. Loved it. Went home, felt okay, told a few friends. Years later, I'm here in the Algarve, and I'm in a friend's house, and he's got a big, one of those glossy books that you have on coffee tables that no one ever reads. Well, I was reading it because it was all about public art. And I was flipping my way through, and I turned a page, and there was the sign, everything's going to be all right. And I was like, what? What? No, I don't understand this. And it was some famous dude, and I can't remember his name, some Swede, lives in cold, dark, northern climes, who's had to have his existence make him dig deep and bring up these ways of making life better. And he would go around and do these installations in the middle of nowhere, not tell anyone about it. And people, he's very famous now, makes a fortune, so it gets to money in the end, I swear to God. If you play and if you're authentic in what your search is, what your curiosity is, you will get there. So this guy was a famous artist, and that was one of his earliest installations. And inspired by that and many other artists, this is the sort of thing you would do. So, for example, you whisper into a wall. You're encouraged to do so because the wall is interesting and there's some kind of maybe galaxy peeking through. You speak. You use speech-to-image software, super simple. Does everyone know Midjourney and Discord and all of that sort of stuff where you speak and images are made, new, unique images, nicked from everyone else, of course, but that's what I do. Ooh, sorry. When I want an idea, I scan Pinterest. I go hundreds of images all over the internet, but very slowly. That's the difference. And the AI does it very fast. Anyway, it then turns things into, your words can turn into an image. So you do the little whispering into the wall. Someone thinks, oh, that's sweet. I'll say, I wish I could fly. And they have a little mini experience, but they walk round the corner, and then there's a huge mural, and they see their words falling down the wall. And for that one moment, they've got agency in the world. It's like a magic universe, like, and they can't figure it out. And for a minute, everything's possible. And then they realize, well, there's a trick, how did my word, and slowly we find out what the tricks are. But that moment of interrupting mundane reality is critical, because think about how much our heads are filled with, monstrous problems. I don't even know where to begin. So if we don't break that monotony of crisis state that we're all sort of in, we're all rushing, we never have time to go and see our mum, we blah, 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 blah. If we break the cycle, like when you've got a dog that barks too much and it's just barking, 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 you've got to break our attention to bring us back into the present to become creative. Now, the interesting thing about digital technology, it's very, very inclusive. Anyone can do it, really. I'm an artist, I'm not a scientist. I really don't want to have a proper job, so that's why I became an artist. It's not like I'm some, dreamed of expressing something, although I now do dream of that. So this is my living room, and, anyone can make a hologram. And all you have to do to make it more beautiful and presentable is change the way in which it's made, the materials you use, and how you present it. So one of the things that we're building, maybe in a town near you, we'll see if that conversation continues, but for example, a trash can. Again, I want to put these in areas that are not so beautiful, because you want to break the acceptance of ugly space. You want to change, so people will start looking around, well, like Pokemon, that game. You and I had a lot in common in that speech of yours, but that game where people are searching for stuff. So if you put interventions in the street that surprise you, people are going to start looking at the world in a little bit of a different way, and this is important. So trash can, you walk by, you throw something into the trash, a little movement sensor triggers a device that has some content on it, data comes out. Now, you didn't notice that by that trash can that's against a wall is a pane of glass or thick plastic that you didn't register. Fiber optics go there. Something flew out of the trash can. A bunch of butterflies, a hummingbird. It doesn't matter. You just for a minute there, you're like, am I tripping? I mean, what? No, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to work. I mean, and something happened there. And then you throw another, you know it's to do with the trash can. You don't know how or why. And you go there, and there's a cycle of data that's going to, you can put a lot of data on a little hard drive. So you have to stand there for half an hour. Only kids are going to stand there for half an hour because kids will try to break it. They will try to find what the trick is. But adults will just be uplifted and then in a rush to pay the mortgage, and then off they go. So here we're making, there's a beautiful old man who lives, he's a friend of my stepfather, lives in Corteda. And he's a poet and a writer and an amazing poet. And he's very old, so he's going to pop off pretty soon. And well, you know, go to the other dimension, right? And so we decided to make a hologram of him. And we did. We got him reading his poetry, and we did it again in my living room where pretty much most things happen. And it works. It's fuzzy, it's wobbly, doesn't matter. It's just money, so we do need money, but trust me, there's a lot of money, and art is a laundry machine. It cleans dirty money. That's what it does. If people would trust us more. So where can it go to? I mean, well, that's the problem. When I was asked to do this talk, I was thinking, 15 minutes? What am I going to say for 15 minutes? And I started trying to put my thoughts down. Honestly, I need about 3 hours with you guys to talk about all the technology that's available and what we could do with it. Because if you bring in, if you accept that the universe is a hologram, if you accept that the human brain and its conditioning is the thing that tunes that reality, whether it's shared or not, it doesn't matter, it makes it coherent. If you accept that the last and final ingredient, and we have to accept this because we're done. You know, life is over as we know it because this paradigm shift is happening. But this creativity bit, if you put those things together, science, technology, the principle of enhancing life, you're going to enhance life. You're going to make a lot of money on the way. I swear to God, if you don't make money your objective, you will, trust me, because I've lived on the edge most of my life as an artist, and things come. They do come to those who wait. Sometimes it's a little bit boring. It takes a little bit of a while, being a starving artist. But after a while, if you pursue that goal single-mindedly and honestly, so that when you fail, you just fail and give up and move again, but never reach a conclusion, because that'll stop the creativity, and you go, oh, I'm a failure, and nobody wants to buy my work. Well, you know, try harder. And if you try harder, you get into games like this, where you can start dealing with, a friend of mine, she works with people who have locked-in syndrome. There's a whole world of people. I don't know, some of you may be unfortunate enough to know about this world, but, you know, one young guy, he's 32, he's got young kids, lovely wife, lovely home, lovely job, lovely life. He slips on ice, bangs his head. Next morning, he goes down to make a coffee, collapses on the floor, never gets up. Bad, bad, bad luck. He's there, young, strong, no body that doesn't work, but perfect mental acuity, locked in, he can barely swallow. And there's hundreds of stories through disease, through accident, even through old age, where people are just trapped in a body that won't die for a while, and there they are. Do they just go mad? They reach God, they've got to do something, but it's probably the most astonishing suffering that we could even imagine. So this type of software and technology, you can create a world for them. Not only just, I don't mean like, because every hospital room has a television on there, like you're lying there, you go, oh my God, is it worse in here or worse out there? It's hard to tell. But if you put them in a world where they have some agency, where they're able to, well, now we know about Apple Vision, where you're using your eyes to make things happen, they could write books. They could create a world that they want to see. They can talk to other people. They can engage in a digital way, not a freaky-deaky way. This is really healthy because they're going to be around or they're just going to wait to die. children with autism, we currently give them an iPad and we teach them to press this button or that. So we pull them into our form of communication, not allowing their brain state and their reality to lead the process of learning a way to get them to communicate. Maybe, and this is something we're exploring, you get kids into a virtual reality environment which is calm enough not to freak them out because you're working with proper, professionals, and they will make a noise at some point. When they make a noise or when they touch a wall, something lovely will happen. It would have been tailored to them. So say a kid is obsessed with animals, that animal will appear. And he might squeak, in happiness. When he squeaks, his voice will trigger something, and he will very quickly go, ooh, something's happening here. He has agency in that moment, and that's hugely powerful, because if you get a feedback in the situation that you're in, you will just keep going because we have this creative thing, and these kids can learn to provoke their environment to start, and you can start then putting words in, and you can change so much. Alzheimer's, dementia, phobias, they're already doing this with PTSD for veterans from, all these awful wars that we love to keep going. And they put people into these simulated scenarios, and they get better. It works, because our brains do this naturally, and that's why it's so accessible. Any idiot can get involved in this. I don't need, sorry, I'm drifting. One last thing, creative, this is the last slide. The possibilities are endless. It's all in our hands, and just keep the creativity going. Thank you.